please, sweetheart. Grandma really needs you right now. She's very sick." My mother's voice trembled over the phone, thick with what I would later recognize as manufactured concern. I sat alone in my Indianapolis apartment, suitcases lined up by the door for our long-awaited family cruise, watching my excitement dissolve into dread. "Of course I'll stay," I said immediately. "Nothing matters if Grandma needs me." Those words would echo painfully in my mind only hours later. My name is Tara Smith. I'm 28 years old, and I've always been the dependable one, the daughter who stepped up when things fell apart. Responsibility had defined me for as long as I could remember, but that loyalty was about to be tested in ways I never expected. I'd spent months looking forward to this cruise. It was meant to be our first true family vacation in years. My parents, my younger sister Emma, extended relatives, and me. I'd requested time off work, saved every spare dollar, and even splurged on new summer clothes. When my mom said Grandma was in the hospital, canceling never felt like a choice. That evening, while driving toward the hospital, my phone buzzed, a social media notification Emma had posted. I pulled over, my breath catching as I stared at the screen. There they were. My entire family stood on the deck of a cruise ship, champagne glasses raised, smiles wide. Best vacation ever, feeling so blessed. #family time, #cruise life. My hands trembled. They had lied. They had used my grandmother, someone I loved more than anything, as a cover to leave me behind. At the hospital, my fear turned to confusion. There was no record of my grandmother being admitted. My calls to my parents went unanswered. Within minutes of seeing Emma's post, I realized she had blocked me entirely. The betrayal hit hard, like the air being knocked from my lungs. I drove straight to Grandma's house, tears blurring the road. Her lights were on. When she opened the door, she looked perfectly healthy and completely shocked to see me sobbing on her doorstep. "Tara, what's wrong, sweetheart?" she asked, pulling me into her arms. The scent of lavender, her familiar perfume, made everything spill out. The cruise, the lies, the photos, the realization that my own family had chosen deception over honesty. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Why would they lie about you?" Her expression darkened. Growing up, she'd always treated Emma and me equally. My parents never had. In Indianapolis, I'd watched them excuse Emma's failures and celebrate her successes while expecting me to handle things on my own. Dance lessons appeared for Emma. College loans appeared for me. I had shown up for Grandma again and again, doctor's appointments, grocery runs, long afternoons paging through photo albums. Emma visited only when she wanted something, yet she was still the favorite. Then Grandma revealed the truth. "Your mother called me last week," she said sharply. "She wanted me to pretend I'd been hospitalized if you came by." I refused. I never imagined they'd actually go through with it. The cruise had cost nearly $2,000 per person. I'd worked overtime for months to afford it. Now I wondered whether my money had helped pay for someone else's luxury. "They didn't even need to lie," I said bitterly. "They could have just told me I wasn't wanted." Grandma squeezed my hand. "People show you who they are when they think you won't notice," she said. "What matters is what you do once you see it." Her eyes held a quiet determination I hadn't noticed before. Then my phone buzzed again, a group text from my cousin Noah, who had no idea I'd been excluded. Photos flooded the chat. Emma in a sundress I'd helped her choose. My parents by the pool. Formal dinners. Laughing faces. And then I saw it. My mother was wearing Grandma's diamond necklace, the one meant to be shared between her daughters on their 30th birthdays. "She gave it to Emma already," I said softly. Grandma's jaw tightened. "That necklace has been passed down for 3 generations, she said, "and it came with very clear instructions." Then she told me the final truth. The cruise hadn't been funded by my parents at all. 2 months earlier, Grandma had given them $15,000 specifically for a family vacation. Instead, they had used my share to upgrade their cabins and book extra excursions. And in that moment, everything became painfully clear.
"I've been watching," Grandma said quietly, her voice heavy with disappointment. "For years, I've seen how differently they treat you. I kept hoping they'd change, that one day they'd realize what they were doing. But this," she shook her head, "this was the last straw." She rose from her chair and crossed the room to her desk, pulling out a thick manila envelope. "I wasn't planning to show you this yet," she continued, "but you deserve to know the truth. I've kept records, every instance of favoritism, every time they took advantage of your kindness, every dollar they spent unequally between you and Emma." Inside were years' worth of evidence, bank statements, emails, photographs, handwritten notes. The documentation spanned decades. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. There it was, undeniable and brutal. The favoritism hadn't been imagined or exaggerated, it had been systematic, intentional, and carefully hidden. But why? I whispered. Years of doubt and gaslighting crashed down on me all at once. Why did they always make me feel like I was crazy for noticing it? Grandma's eyes hardened with a resolve I'd never seen before. Because when people know they're wrong, they try to make you doubt yourself, she said firmly. But that ends now, Tara. The cruise was scheduled to last 7 days. The next morning, I sat alone in my Indianapolis apartment, sorting through Grandma's files, when my phone lit up with a text from Emma. Mom says you're spreading lies about us. Why can't you just be happy for once instead of trying to ruin everything? Anger surged through me. Even now, they were trying to cast me as the villain. Instead of replying, I did something I'd never dared to do before. I told the truth publicly. Apparently being lied to about my grandmother being hospitalized so my family could exclude me from a vacation somehow makes me the problem. I wrote on social media, attaching Emma's best vacation ever post. Even more interesting is that the cruise was paid for with money meant to include me. The response was immediate. Messages poured in from family friends, stunned and sympathetic. Cousins reached out privately, admitting they'd noticed the unequal treatment for years but hadn't known the full story. Then my father called. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but Grandma's words echoed in my mind. You've done nothing wrong. Take that post down, he snapped. You're humiliating this family. No, I said calmly. You humiliated this family when you lied about Grandma being sick and used her money to exclude me. That's not what happened, he argued. We just needed a break from your constant. My constant what? I cut in. My constant reliability? My constant help with Grandma? My constant effort to belong to a family that's never treated me equally? Silence stretched between us. When he spoke again, his tone had changed, cold, threatening. If you don't delete that post and apologize publicly, you'll regret it. You have no idea what's at stake. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Your mother and I have protected you for years, kept certain things from you. If you want to play this game, fine, just remember, you're not the only one who can tell stories. The call ended, leaving my hands shaking. What had they protected me from? What stories were they talking about? I called Grandma immediately. They're trying to scare me, I said. Dad claims they've been protecting me from something, but he won't say what. She was quiet for a long moment. Check your email, she finally said. I'm sending you everything. It's time you knew. When I opened her message, my breath caught. Attached was a scanned document dated 25 years earlier, a trust agreement. According to the paperwork, my maternal grandfather had left a substantial fortune to be divided equally among his grandchildren upon turning 30. The trust was worth over $2 million. But the attachments didn't stop there. Bank statements followed, showing years of withdrawals, money used for Emma's dance lessons, her private school tuition, her college education, even her wedding. All of it had come from what was supposed to be my share. They've been stealing from you since you were 3, Grandma said softly over the phone. Your mother convinced your Uncle Michael, the trustee, to give her early access to your portion, claiming it was for your benefit, but it all went to Emma. I finished college with loans, I said numbly. The numbers were staggering, over $500,000 gone while I worked multiple jobs just to survive. Another email arrived, this one from Uncle Michael. Tara, I can't stay silent anymore. What they did with the cruise money was the final straw. I've attached documentation of every withdrawal from your trust. I'm so sorry, I should have stopped this years ago. The files revealed an even uglier truth. My parents hadn't just spent my money on Emma, they'd been siphoning funds for themselves for years. The cruise was merely the most recent abuse. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked Grandma, struggling to breathe through the betrayal. I only uncovered the full extent recently, she said. When I confronted your mother last month, she promised they'd repay everything. That's why I gave them the cruise money. She paused. It was a test, Tara. I wanted to believe they'd finally do the right thing, I said bitterly. Instead, they failed in the worst possible way. They did, Grandma agreed calmly, and in doing so, they gave us exactly what we needed, proof. Your Uncle Michael is willing to testify about how they manipulated the trust. Between his testimony, my records, and the cruise incident, we have a strong legal case. The shock that had weighed me down finally gave way to something steadier, resolve. But that's not all, Grandma continued, her voice sharpening. Open the second attachment in my email. I did, and gasped. It was her will, recently updated. I was named the sole heir to her estate. Only then did I realize the full implication. Her holdings included a controlling interest in the family company, where my father was still acting CEO. They're about to learn, Grandma said firmly, that actions have consequences. The next morning, I met Uncle Michael at a small cafe in downtown Indianapolis. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his hands unsteady as he slid a thick folder across the table. These are copies of everything, every transaction, every approval, he said quietly. I've already forwarded them to the family attorney. Your parents are panicking. They've called me nonstop since I sent that email. What are they saying? I asked, flipping through years of damning financial records. That it was all for your benefit, he scoffed. That they were protecting you from too much money too young. He paused, then lowered his voice. But I found something else, something they don't know I uncovered. He pulled out another document, bank transfers routed to an offshore account. They're planning to leave the country, he said grimly. They've been moving money for weeks. The cruise wasn't just a vacation, it was a test run. They wanted to see if traveling would raise any red flags. My stomach dropped. They're going to run with what's left of my trust fund. Yes, and Emma's helping them. Accounts in her name, shell transfers, the works. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Emma. You've always been jealous of me. Now you're trying to ruin everything, but you're too late. By the time you figure it out, we'll be gone, and you'll have nothing. I showed it to Uncle Michael, his face drained of color. They're moving faster than I expected, he said. We need to act now. I called Grandma immediately. She answered on the first ring. They're at the company headquarters, she said without hesitation. Your father is clearing out his office. Security just contacted me. Can they stop him? They don't need to. Her voice was steady, confident. I've already called the police and the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. They're en route. Tara, you need to get there too. You're the controlling shareholder now. The paperwork was filed this morning. I stood so fast my chair scraped the floor. They don't know that yet, do they? No, she replied, and that's our advantage. As I rushed to my car, another message came through, this time from my mother. You ungrateful child, after everything we've done for you, you'll regret this. For the first time, her words didn't scare me. I had the truth, and nothing left to lose. I arrived at the company just as my parents were exiting the building with boxes from my father's office. Emma trailed behind them, her eyes darting nervously. They froze when they saw me. What are you doing here? My father demanded, forcing authority into his voice, but I saw the fear beneath it. I was about to ask you the same thing, I said calmly, stepping forward, especially since you're removing items from my company without permission. Emma scoffed. Your company? What are you talking about? I held up my phone, displaying the ownership documents. Grandma transferred her controlling shares to me this morning, which makes me the majority shareholder, and very interested in those boxes, particularly if they contain evidence of what you did with my trust fund. My mother's face went pale. Behind them, police cars pulled into the lot, lights flashing. FBI agents followed. Uncle Michael's car arrived moments later, with Grandma in the passenger seat. You don't understand, my mother pleaded, her voice shaking. Everything we did was for this family. No, I said evenly. Everything you did was for Emma, and then you tried to run with what was left of my money. I turned to my sister. Did you enjoy the cruise, Emma? Was it worth it? Emma broke down as the agents approached. My father tried to pull her away, but it was over. The truth had finally caught up with them. 3 months later, I sat with Grandma in her Indianapolis garden, autumn leaves drifting down as we shared our morning coffee. The investigation had uncovered even more than we'd known, embezzlement not just from my trust, but from the company itself. My parents now faced federal charges, along with multiple civil lawsuits. Emma had accepted a plea deal, agreeing to testify in exchange for immunity. She moved to Minnesota, forced at last to stand on her own. Her apology came in a long message I read once and never replied to. Some wounds don't heal with words. Your grandfather would be proud of you, Grandma said softly. He always believed money reveals character. I thought about the changes I'd made at the company, transparent finances, ethical leadership, scholarships for employees' children. The business was thriving, built on honesty instead of greed. I never wanted any of this, I said quietly. I just wanted to be treated fairly. Grandma squeezed my hand. Life's hardest trials often hide its greatest gifts. She was right. That cruise I'd been excluded from wasn't the vacation of a lifetime. It was the beginning of their downfall, and the start of mine.